It's a type of movie that makes your belly jiggle like an afternoon plate of Jell-O. When I wasn't podcasting or sucking down on a Tootsie Pop, I wondered and I pondered and I even squandered if there would be a movie like this again. One that could actually make you laugh. Hell, even force you to laugh. Pin you down, tie you up, whip you like the bad boy you are until you ha-ha or even hee-hee. Well, that movie is here, and it's The Naked Gun. I was trying to go for like the Leslie Nielsen narration, you know?
No, I know you didn't have to explain it. I'm not. All right, hell yeah!
I saw you roll your eyes immediately as I was explaining it. Like you, like people who are watching will be able to see, but you immediately were disappointed at me.
Because it's like you couldn't just sit in the synopsis joke. like well, what if he didn't get it?
Well, you weren't laughing, and then there was this silence that made me.
No, I was laughing.
Oh,
maybe I don't know if you didn't pick it up. Maybe I don't know if like Zoom did something weird, but I was like laughing.
Zoom definitely cut it out then because I got nervous. Well, welcome to Movies That Changed Us. I'm Altaf.
And I'm Chris.
And today we're going to talk about The Naked Gun 2025.
And we do have a Patreon, guys. And anyone, wow, I cannot speak. I'm going to try that one more time.
No, boo.
Keep this. And we do have a Patreon, guys. If anyone likes the show and wants to support us, you can go to patreon.com/movies that changed us. We can get early access to podcasts. You can also get ad-free podcasts along with our bonus show called Movies That Played Us, where Altaf and I make custom-made games for each other that are movie-based, that are quizzes of sorts. Last time I made him a game that was Guess the Movie Hat, and Altaf is about to reveal to me what game he made me.
Guess the Movie Drink.
Ooh. Okay, that sounds challenging. I'm excited for that.
Slurp, slurp. For audio listeners, Chris just glared at the camera.
Yeah, I mean, for audio listeners, that just sit in that silent pause.
No, you can't sit in that silent pause because I can't, because I get uncomfortable. What's that joke?
I want us to think about what you just said.
Do you remember like the first episode of Dave, that little Dicky show, where Andrew Santino is like standing on the table alone, and Dave is like, "Were you just standing here alone?" And he was like, "Yes, because I'm comfortable with my own thoughts."
Yeah,
I'm comfortable sitting in my own thoughts, or something like that. He said, "I was like, that made us laugh." Before we talk about the movie, in each episode, Chris and I ask each other what art moved us that week, the previous week, and this could be, a movie, a song, a sandwich. If it's a sandwich, sandwiches are art. So Chris, I have to ask you, what art moved you this week?
Well, two different things. I already mentioned it last week, but I'll be quick about it. But I've been playing more Ready or Not, and goddamn, that game is fucked up. I won't get into it because of just some of the stuff that the game gets into is just not appropriate to talk about on YouTube. But once again, if you played Ready or Not, you know what I'm talking about. My cousin and I started playing it together, and we just do two-man operations, and we get very stressed out together. It's a very good bonding experience. But the other art that I consumed,
let me just jump in really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
If people want to know if people are fans of that game or are curious about that game and they want to know more of your thoughts about that game, they can go to our Aliens episode where in the beginning of it, you talk a lot more about it, like why you like it. Yeah, we have a discussion about it.
Yeah, 100%. But I also just went and saw Fantastic Four last week.
Yes.
And you saw it earlier than me. And we haven't talked about it yet because I wanted to see it and we wanted to save it for the podcast. So I know your rough take on it, but you don't know mine. So I guess I'll start. I really liked it. I didn't love it. I don't think it's like one of the best Marvel movies, whatever, but I also didn't think it was bad at all. I enjoyed it thoroughly. That's kind of my basic abridged thoughts.
Well, okay, so I'll just say that I didn't like it, but before I say why, I want to know from you first, because more people are probably on your side. What did you really like about it? What did you respond to?
I thought it had a very unique tone. I really liked the music and the atmosphere and kind of the world of it in general, and it was unique. And I liked that there weren't that many action scenes, and it actually took its time between like those moments, and it was very focused on like some of the characters and their dynamics. And I don't know, I just enjoyed that. It just felt different from the usual Marvel flair, you know. I don't think, like I said, I don't think it was like completely groundbreaking. Like it had, you know, things that just blew my mind and whatever. Like you have to see it, but you know, if you're looking for something new in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I thought it brought some interesting stuff to the table.
It was interesting because, like, I agree with you. The music is so good. Like, I actually have been listening to the score while I work. Like, that score is, I think, some of the best like superhero music we've gotten in a while, in my opinion. It feels very orchestral, kind of John Williams-y, you know, and there's like actual character themes, which is fun. The production design is like immaculate. It like looks amazing. And then if you look at behind the scenes, those are like actual sets they built. All the city stuff, like they really built out a city. Like it doesn't feel it was just shot on a void. I think, like, to your point of it not having that many action sequences, that wouldn't normally bother me if I felt like the characters had any chemistry with each other, and if they had actual, like, I like thought it was very miscast. Like, I didn't think, in my opinion, Pedro Pascal worked. I don't think, like, Ebon Moss-Baccarat, who I like, Pedro Pascal, who I like, Ebon Moss-Baccarat, I love from The Bear. I just think they didn't give him much to do, and because I felt like it was so, whenever like they would talk to each other, I never felt like that electricity, and I don't know what it is I was missing, but I just felt like there was something there where they were all so grumpy, and it felt so boring to me.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. You know, like I said, I think the chemistry worked. I think without spoiling any plot points, but you know, we've all seen the trailer and stuff. They've already been established as superheroes in this version, and we're not getting like that origin story. And I think the weakness that I would say is because of that, you're kind of like just jumping in the middle of things. Like they're all so used to being superheroes, and it's harder to like fully connect when they're not, like, you know, you don't understand their true motivations of them deciding to become heroes, or they're, you know, you see inklings of their relationship with the city. You see people get excited. I liked all this stuff with the Thing, and like seeing, you know, kids seeing him around, and him, walking around saying hi.
That's the best stuff, when they're like actually interacting with the city. Like when Vanessa Kirby comes out with a kid and talks to people, that worked on me.
Yeah. I think, it just has a very different setup. And it was kind of the problem I had with Superman as well, in some ways. It kind of just like pops you in the middle of things, which is cool because it's like the new trend is to skip the origin story, but it makes it more difficult and kind of wobbly when it comes to establishing like the norm for them and their motivations. I think, right? Am I kind of on track with what you're getting at?
I think you get, it's funny though. I was going to bring up Superman in a way that like I felt like Superman, it worked.
Mm-hmm. Because Superman is a better movie in my opinion. I agree. I think it does a lot better, but
but still. that specific aspect of it dropping you in, I think it worked because first of all, you get those like lines of text that establish it very quickly. But aside from that, I think in Superman it worked for me because I felt like I understood who he was and what he wanted. Like he was constantly getting beat up in that movie, and he wanted to be that like Boy Scout for this world that was a bit more cynical. And it was just a bummer. It was also weird because like the theater I saw it in was packed. It was opening weekend, but my theater was a bit more quiet, you know? And I've talked to people who saw it with like a crowd that was like clapping and cheering like a classic Marvel movie. And my theater, it felt like they were tepid. And the people who I saw it with, who are comic book fans, who like read Fantastic Four, they walked out with me and shared my opinion. So after opening night, I was kind of like, oh, bummer. I guess Fantastic Four is not going to work. People are not going to like it. And then now everyone loves that movie. So it's like weird.
I mean, like I said, I don't think you're the only one that holds that opinion, you know? But like, for me, it's like I said, I'm not really like, oh my God, you got to see it. Like Superman, I was a little glowing when I came out of it, even if I didn't think Superman is perfect, but I was like excited that it existed.
And the ending, like they kill it. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And I think for this one, it's like, oh yeah, no, that was fun. That's kind of how I see it. You know, it didn't like totally, you know, get me leaping out of my seat, but I also had a good enough time, you know?
Yeah, totally. To cap off this conversation, I think man carrying Thing, he's my like favorite YouTuber right now. He made a great video kind of like making fun of the discourse around this movie, which is like, why didn't it make $1 billion? I mean, it did fairly well. It made 400 million. He's like, I guess superhero movies are dead. He's like, well, Superman did really well. He's like, what are we going to do now? You know what I mean? And it's just like, it is kind of funny that now everyone's talking about like Fantastic Four is failing. It only made 400 million. And I'm like,
I know.
why do we care? Like, I don't know. It's weird to me. And also like, why are we now like, I saw a comment on that video being like, wow, yeah, Disney's so humble. It's a surprise they haven't added a pay for my coffee tab on Disney Plus.
Oh yeah, exactly.
I'm like, this company has made so much money. They own the industry. They're fine.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about that one.
Anything else before I say like what moved me very quickly?
No. Yeah, that's it. Just those two.
I watched a comedy special that came out Friday by Mark Maron called Panicked. Huge Mark Maron fan, obviously huge fan of the podcast and sadly ending. But Chris, I know you haven't really consumed that much of him. Maybe you've seen clips of him around, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so his specials, like he gets very political. He talks about like his frustrations. He's obviously liberal, but like he very much is like this. He feels like a progressive uncle that's kind of pissed, you know? He's your progressive left-leaning uncle that's also just pissed off at everything and has a lot of anxiety. And he does this comedy special, Panicked. It came out Friday. I watched it. And man, it felt like this guy was not only in my head, but his entire special feels like my anxiety and my insecurities and my anxiety put into like an hour-long comedy special that is basically everything that I get frustrated about, but sharply written and sharply commentated on by Mark Maron, who is a seasoned professional. There is a moment in there where he's talking about the LA fires and how he had to get all his cats during the LA fires, and it was this whole debacle, and he finally evacuated, and he got to the Hollywood Hills and stayed at the Hampton in the Hollywood Hills, and right when he was starting to get relaxed, he saw like a gust of flames go through the Hollywood Hills. And he was like, and my first thought, I immediately took it personally. I was like, why the fuck is this happening to me? And when I tell you I relate to that so fucking hard.
Oh, I believe you, man.
And the second joke that I really like, and these jokes are in the trailer. I mean, the fire one isn't, but this joke that I'm about to say is in the trailer. So I'm not super spoiling anything. But he talks about how, guys, we're all progressives here. We need to figure out this buzzkill thing because you understand that we basically annoyed people into fascism.
I know that's our greatest crime.
He was just like, yeah, and I highly recommend because there is something cathartic about him talking about this stuff that is like obviously frustrating because we're all going through the year that is 2025. But it's cathartic in the sense that, Chris, you and I talk about often how like art like this can make you feel less alone, even if it's talking about stuff that you feel anxious about, you know? And I will say this comedy special made me feel less alone. It also made me feel like, so inside my head, is there a 61-year-old Mark Maron? Like, is that who lives in there?
No, I think, maybe he's in all of our heads,
Highly recommend people. It's on HBO Max. Check it out.
That's cool. I mean, like, I feel that way about Bo Burnham when Inside came out, and like even just throughout the years following him, whenever he would make songs or whatever, however he do things to critique other parts of society or the music industry or certain things, the same deal. I think we all have had that where you find an artist that feels like, oh my god, you just took the words from my mouth, And
I mean, Inside.
It's always cool.
Yeah, Inside was definitely that for sure.
Yeah.
But like it's always cool to find that. Okay, so on to the main event. Chris, Naked Gun is a big part of our YouTube identity. We've talked about it countless times. We've obviously started with our YouTube reaction to it on Nice Dude Movie Night, and it became one of our biggest reactions, crossing 1 million views. We did a commentary track back when we used to do commentary tracks on Patreon. We did a podcast episode on the Naked Gun. We are, I would kind of say, semi-Naked Gun experts. Like I have seen all of the Police Squad TV show now. I fucking love it. So you and I were very excited for this. Chris, what did you think of the Naked Gun 2025?
So real quick, in case you're a newcomer to this channel, whether you're from the Nice Dude Movie Night Reaction channel, OG fan, or you're just someone who's never fucking seen us ever, just know normally on this part of the show, we say, how did this movie change you? But we're omitting that for this one because this is a new movie, and we do that whenever we get to new movies because it didn't really change us. This is like a normal movie review, shooting the shit, talking about it episode. But my initial thoughts on this movie, I fucking loved it. I can't describe to you how happy it made me, how like there's something, because obviously this movie's funny as shit and it's whatever you want to call it. It's stupid as hell. It's the same thing you get out of watching a Zucker Brothers movie where you're like, I can't believe I just laughed at something that fucking stupid. And I didn't think movies could do that again. I don't know if you felt the same, but those are my like quick one sentence thoughts on it. And you look happy hearing me say it right now, so I'm assuming you felt the same way.
I'm not exaggerating, and it's going to sound very silly, but this is my favorite movie of the year.
Hell yeah.
I love it more than Sinners. I love it more than Black Bag. All the movies that I've said are favorite. This is above it. Like
I figured, because you saw it twice. I remember you telling me, and you were like holding it in. I could feel it because we always hold in our thoughts for listeners on the movie, just so that way we can kind of let it all out on the podcast.
Yeah.
But he was like, yeah, okay, cool. I'm going to see it again on Sunday. And I think like he didn't say anything else. And I was like, he's seeing it again. I think he liked it.
Yeah. I was like convincing myself, well, I'm doing this for the podcast so I can stay fresh on it. But I didn't do that for Superman. So, no, I mean, yeah, man, I had the thing that we kind of talked about in the Aliens podcast where I was talking about how like, I don't cry in movies at sad moments. I cry at movies when I feel this level of euphoria. And we're going to talk about it, but during the snowman scene, I had tears. Not because I was laughing so hard.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Not because I was laughing so hard. But I was hearing everyone else laugh that hard, and I'm actually getting emotional talking about it. Like it made me feel like, oh my God, things might be okay.
So also just to jump in real quick, I know we're doing like a lot of pumping the brakes for listeners and stuff, but I don't know about you, but let's not spoil too many of the jokes because I have a feeling people are going to listen to this not having seen the movie.
Okay,
because this isn't like a movie we're going to get spoiler territory. Maybe we'll jump into some of it later, but like most of this, I kind of would like to keep it without spoiling the jokes. I kind of want to get into more of the general existence of this movie and kind of just surface level thoughts. Do you agree with me on that?
100%.
Okay.
I'll say this towards the end of the episode, we always have a segment called Shouties where we give it's basically honorable mentions, right? Of things that we didn't get to or didn't discuss. In that Shouty segment, let's make it a spoiler section.
Okay,
because
cool.
I listed off my Shouties notes are a lot. I listed off all the jokes I could remember. Really. So that moment, I think we can go ham in talking about stuff.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I wanted to start there though. I think a lot of the conversations around this movie is please let this be a success so comedies can return. That's a lot of pressure to put on a movie like this, right? And yeah. I'm not going to lie. I tried not to, but I had extremely high expectations. The first teaser got me. I watched that first teaser so many times. I watched the first trailer so many times. I love Akiva Schaffer or Schaffer. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that wrong, but he's 1/3 of the Lonely Island trio. And I love them. They've I feel like for both you and I, Chris, the Lonely Island has informed our sense of humor in a way.
Oh yeah, 100%. You and I still to this day can talk about Mother Lover like it's one of the most important pieces of media to exist on the internet. And we're not exaggerating. I know it sounds like fluffy podcast talk, but you and I treat that like it's a fucking masterpiece because it is.
Well, you've discussed this, and I tried to question it, and then now I don't even question it. I agree with you. You've said in the past that Mother Lover is the funniest video ever made.
I do kind of stand by that. I know it's an intense take, but that nothing else makes me laugh the same way. So it's, in my opinion, the funniest ever made.
So going in, I had extremely high expectations. And then that got me stressed out. I'm like, oh, fuck, it's going to disappoint me. And And this is not a spoiler, but the movie starts with the bank sequence that is in the teaser. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, we've seen this in the trailer. Fuck. Have I seen all the jokes already? I was worried, you know? And then when the movie kicks in, and I won't say when, but like after the heist sequence, I was like elevating because my theater was packed. People were laughing every second. There was a lady next to me. There was like an older lady next to me.
I had an old lady next to me too. I had 2 old ladies next to me.
She was coughing. She was like, some people behind me were laughing so hard where I missed some jokes. And
oh man.
And I was like, fuck, I forgot you could feel this way in a movie theater.
I know, man. Like I had a similar experience. My theater wasn't fully packed, but it was like probably like 60% full.
Yeah, sure.
And like enough to where it'd make a difference. The same thing. People were laughing. I could hear people whispering, like noticing jokes. Oh, look at this and that in the background. You know, that sort of thing. It's like how you and I fucking react to Naked Gun. You know what I'm saying? That's what it felt like.
I missed you so much.
I know, right? I was like, I missed you, man.
Well, it was like
we should have been on camera and made a video out of it. We would have made so much money.
We would have come back. We would have done Nice Soon movie night again. No, I thought of you a lot when those like jokes in the background would happen. Mm-hmm. I was like, yeah. This is like Chris and I's bag. Like we would talk about this all the time.
Yeah. So for listeners who haven't seen it yet, if you're familiar with the Naked Gun movies and the Zucker brothers, Airplane, it's such a loving tribute to that. And it does like the thing where it actually has its own jokes. There's some jokes that are clearly nods to the original for sure, because it has to stay in the language of Naked Gun, as weird as that sentence is, the language of Naked Gun. But like it just embraces that humor. Like it's so timeless, just fully confident that this is going to be funny. Like it's not just a bunch of people riffing and throwing out stupid, nonsensical jokes. The jokes are written and fucking crafted, and they built things to make the joke work. They had like props. They actually put work into it and planned the joke ahead of time. I'm like, please more of this.
Yeah. Yeah, it is that thing where you watch this and we're like, I want like 10 of these a year. Like and they don't all have to be great. Like they can be mediocre. But I heard Jorma Taccone, who is, again, part of Lonely Island, on the Lonely Island podcast when they were talking about this movie. Jorma Taccone and Andy Samberg were also consultants in this movie. You see their names in the credits of this movie. Mm-hmm. But Jorma said that, like, when I was growing up and I would watch a comedy in the theater, even if there was one joke that made me laugh and the rest of the movie was kind of okay, I would remember that one joke. I would like take that home with me. And Chris, I thought of you when he said that, because the amount of times you'll reference this dumb fucking comedy, like a real garbage piece of shit. You'll talk about one joke from it that made you laugh so hard. Right?
I know. I'm laughing really hard just because it's so much build up to that, because like how often I just reference garbage movies to you and you're like, no, it's like I've thought of you.
Because I mean, I think of what's it, that movie, like Mark Wahlberg, Will Ferrell, that we always talk about?
Oh, Daddy's Home.
Daddy's Home. You talk about the big dick Mark Wahlberg joke in it all the time.
Yeah, for listeners, if you haven't seen Daddy's Home, at least, like, I recommend it because it's a good disposable comedy. It's stupid, but it's funny. But I also, at the very least, look up the doctor's office scene. Yeah. You'll just say no more about it, but like that scene alone is pretty fucking funny.
YouTube Daddy's Home hospital scene. Like just do that. Two things that really stood out to me. One is the performances. So I think something that's really interesting about Leslie Nielsen, you and I having seen Naked Gun 2.5, Airplane, even when he shows up in the superhero movie.
Scary Movie 3 and 4.
Something that he does that I don't think people really hone in on is he doesn't play it straight. Like, I think a lot of people are like, he plays it so straight. The thing, especially if you watch the first Naked Gun, he plays dumb. That's what's good about it. Like, he doesn't play it straight. He plays just straight up a dumb guy who thinks he's the best in the business. And, and doesn't really recognize that anything he touches, anything he looks at, anything he talks about, he's fucking up. And he's gloriously oblivious, right? Liam Neeson brought that energy. Like, I was astonished by how good Liam Neeson is in this.
And this is like the cliche, like legacy sequel thingy or whatever you want to call it. But like, he does it in his own flavor that works. It still feels like Frank Drebin because he plays literally Frank Drebin. He plays his, Leslie Nielsen's son.
Yeah.
But also like, even, when they do the fight scenes, they do it like in the fast-paced Taken style of fighting.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
distinctly Liam Neeson style of fighting on camera.
You could
and
tell
they make
they
it
were
work.
like,
And they,
yeah, you could tell they were just like, let's make this into a Liam Neeson movie for a second.
yeah, exactly. And so when he does the joke deliveries, he has that kind of low, gravelly way of talking. The way we know Liam Neeson talks, but they just leaned into what he does best, but still being true to what a Naked Gun movie is. And I'm being kind of vague, but you got to watch it to get it, if you haven't seen it. But trust us when we say like he does such a good job.
There's certain things he does that, like, the amount of times he smiles in this movie was so funny to me. Because if you think about it, we don't get to see Liam Neeson smile in movies often, right?
Yeah.
And so just him smiling is kind of alarming, but he does it a lot. He has this goofy smile or a loving smile, and it's like really, just really fun. Like, it's fun to see him having fun.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. You can tell he like loves being in this movie. You can tell he loved every minute of being in, all the jokes. He just played super straight, like the classics. And going off of the smiling, though, that was something we talked about in the original Naked Gun podcast we did, is that Leslie Nielsen also has this kind of fun grandpa energy. Like, he feels like the grandpa who asks you to pull his finger.
Yes.
And
yeah. Very, very well put. Yeah, there's this like glimmer in his eye because he knows he's being goofy.
Exactly. And like we've been saying, Liam Neeson does his own thing with it, but it still totally works for this movie.
I also loved Pamela Anderson. I didn't know she had this in her. Like, I didn't know she could do this, which is like, first of all, looks beautiful still. Like, I was blown away. Her and Liam Neeson are actually together now. Like, they are like, which is really cool.
I know.
They have genuine chemistry with each other. There's a jazz scene that's like a tour de force performance by her.
I know, dude. Oh man, I know. I wanted to. We'll get to that stuff in the later, probably the last quarter of this episode or something like that for those who've seen it. But I'm excited to talk about some of the nitty gritty jokes.
The villain played by Danny Houston, so good. Like a villain that's like the original Naked Gun feels like a proper movie villain as well. Like, if you remember the original Naked Gun, he does feel menacing, but then still has some silly jokes that he gets to deliver. And the villain in this movie is like an Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos type, which is like, I think the easiest go-to for a villain now. And I love it. I love that they're just like going for that.
Yeah. And I think what made it interesting was like I don't know. It sounds cliche to say. I'm trying to figure out a way to phrase it that doesn't sound so like over the top podcasty, but they really did find a way to do it that felt modern but classic at the same time. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but this plot involves like technology and internet and stuff. They lean into that part, of something that would be, if you made a Naked Gun movie in 2025, they still made it feel modern, but the story beats and everything still felt very classic. They did a good job blending those elements. They make jokes about body cams, which we won't give away, but they do stuff that like is distinctly 2025, but still making it have the tone of the Naked Gun movies.
Yes, this movie's very aware that cops have this weird, not weird, but like a very tense legacy now. Like, cops have a different meaning in 2025 than they did in the 80s. And the movie's very aware of that in not an insulting way, but in like a right way.
Yeah, it felt tasteful. Yeah.
And the movie's also the second point I wanted to bring up, besides the performances, which Paul Walter Hauser as his sidekick is great. CCH Pounder is amazing as Chief Davis. She also, Chris, is in the Avatar movies as the tribe chief. She's in all of them. Just wanted to point that out. Chris's distaste for Pandora is not forgotten here. But the second point I wanted to bring up is
We only talked about Avatar in one episode, by the way. Not everyone saw the Aliens episode. So there's going to be a lot of people who see this out of context and just think I don't like Avatar. I just want to be clear. Like, for listeners, Altaf, sometimes podcasts like everyone is like fully caught up on every piece of like media we've ever made.
because here's the thing. I think about also the fans that do listen to every episode, that do tune in. You know what I mean?
I know. There's like the 4 people that are like, oh, I get that joke.
And hey, listen, those 4 people, I'm with you.
Totally. I just feel like frazzled, like I have to cover up real quick just because I don't want fans to just think I'm some fucking snarky edgelord that doesn't like Avatar. Like, no, I like Avatar, man.
No. Yes, Chris loves Avatar. It's his favorite movie.
Fuck off.
No. The second thing I wanted to bring up is how good this movie looks.
Yeah. They shot it really well.
It's shot like, a noir, and it is there's these great establishing shots of the city while his voiceover's going on, and like the movie just doesn't look flatly lit. You know what I mean? There was thought put into the aesthetic of it.
Yeah, there was thought put into the aesthetic and like the comedy blocking too.
Yes.
There's so many really nice wide shots where you can see the jokes. And it's funny. It's like filming action or something like that, where there's a way to block it that makes the timing and the jokes land better. Because especially for these types of movies, they're hard to pull off because there's so many moving parts, right? If you make a proper Zucker Brothers style movie, you want to be able to see stuff in the background, which is what's so unique about these types of spoof movies in general, is when the movies, well, this applies to Airplane and the original Naked Gun, but when there's shit in the background, that happens that it doesn't draw attention to, the audience's relationship with the movie is very unique. Because every time it cuts to a different shot, I'm squinting, looking for something, because I'm always expecting a joke. I'm always looking for, and I find them, and the movie rewards me for finding them.
Yeah.
So there's like a very like weird back and forth that I feel like the audience will have, and they do it really well in this one too.
Yeah, there's like a foreground way of watching the movie and a background way of watching this movie, right?
Exactly.
Where if you don't want to look at the stuff that's going in the background, the stuff in the foreground is still really funny. It's very hard to pull off because basically you need a million jokes that are also kind of good. Like, there's not a single joke in this movie that just didn't work for me. There's some jokes that are funnier than others, right?
Yeah.
There's some jokes that I just chuckled at. Almost every one made me laugh, though.
Yeah, they range from a chuckle to like my stomach hurting laughing.
Oh, yeah.
I won't give it away, but the one that hurt my stomach involved thermal vision goggles.
Well, I mean, come on. That joke is for you. Like, like your love for like, this might be spoiling it a little, but your love for Austin Powers. It's just like,
yeah. I mean, there's like an inkling of that joke in the trailer, so you like listeners probably know what we're talking about. But if you haven't seen the movie, it escalates.
Well,
but yeah, it is a very Austin Powers coded joke.
I think I wanted to say that though because I heard some criticism about a lot of the jokes being spoiled in the trailer, and I understand that, but also I'm someone that watched the trailer and teaser a million times, and I was still shocked by a lot of the jokes that were in here.
Oh yeah. Well, and even like I remember in the marketing, one thing that worried me, and I think I told you about this, was the music, because the music in the trailer is like super, it uses this like rap song or whatever, and I was thinking like, oh, are they gonna modernize it too much where it loses that? No, that song isn't in the movie at all. The music is very classic. Like, it feels like a proper Naked Gun movie, but they don't like, I guess this is like a very, very soft spoily, but if you've seen the original Naked Gun movies, they all have an opening credit sequence that involves a car driving into funny places with the siren and the music. That they don't do it in this one. Yeah. It very much makes a point to do its own thing. And I respected it. For a second, I was almost a little bummed because I was kind of like, ooh, how are they going to do that?
Yeah.
But I like that they didn't just like do something predictable. It did something else. And it pays homage to it in other ways, but they don't just mimic that scene.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought up the music because I wanted to shout that out. They got Lorne Balfe to do the music, who does like Mission Impossible movies.
Oh, really? That's funny. I didn't know that.
And if you look at the credits, it's a full orchestra. Like, and there's behind the scenes footage of them recording the Naked Gun score in like a legit, like they have like strings and like it's just a full
That's
set.
fucking awesome.
And if you listen to the score on Spotify, it does not sound like a comedy movie.
Of course it doesn't. Yeah.
And I just love that. I was like, again, it's the reason it brought tears to my eyes, where I'm like, oh my God, they thought about every aspect of this. And there's one joke in here that, again, I'll point out in the Shouties segment, where I was Rick Dalton pointing to the camera. I'm like, oh, they did that for me. Oh my God, they're doing this for me. And I can't wait to talk about it. But I just was really, really blown away. I do, I want to talk a little bit, and it's going to sound ridiculous. I want to talk about the story for a second, because I thought it was interesting that they made this villain a tech billionaire who, and this is not a joke or anything, so I'm not really spoiling the reason you're going to be watching this movie. But I like how the tech billionaire is also just like, yeah, I understand technology's bad, so we're basically gonna, we're eradicating a lot of shit. I also get that technology's bad, but don't tell anyone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know that the movie's not really like that focused on, like, that's like a surface level idea. But I did think that there was, like, Akiva Schaffer, that was an interesting point to make a tech billionaire also not like technology.
Oh, 100%. I mean, like, yeah, not to get too deep into it, not even for spoiler's sake, but just to, like, I don't want to overanalyze it, but it does a soft thematic thing about, like, respecting the classics and, the way times change and the way industries change. There's like a little bit of that. It's not at all enough to really try to distract you or like put a theme in your face, which is like, what I loved about this movie, that it didn't try to, like, it does what the classic movies do, where it just wants to make you laugh and that's it. But if you wanted to look a little into it, you might be able to find some nugget of, a theme in there.
And there is also this kind of thing about it of, like, the villain is constantly telling Frank Drebin is like, things used to be better, right, Frank? When it was just us two old guys, And I think the movie is kind of making fun of the fact that old men in politics and in the industry do think like this.
Yeah.
And that's why they don't give up any power. And so they don't want to leave anything. They don't want to end anything. There's 80-year-olds like in the White House still, you know what I mean? And I do think a movie like this coming out in 2025, you can't help but think like that,
Yeah. What's that song by Bo Burnham from Make Happy where he talked about how hard it is to be a straight white male? Yeah. And at the very end of the song, it said, we used to own all the land and, whatever.
Oh,
and we still do, but it's not as fun now.
Exactly. We used to have all the money and land and we still do, but it's not as fun now.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of the energy this new Naked Gun gives off a little bit,
Yeah.
But again, I really got to stress, don't worry about it. It doesn't have any like, attempt at a political message or anything. It's just a joke,
Well, here's the thing about it. Akiva was talking about how he basically watched a lot of spoof movies. He also watched a lot of like his favorite action movies, modern and old, right?
Sure.
And while prepping for this movie, and something that he noticed in the Naked Gun movies and in a lot of spoof movies that were done well is that if the story in the movie is too boring or confusing, then the audience stops laughing. So you gotta make it simple. You have to make it kind of make sense, right? So then people can kind of sit back and laugh, right? But if
so you're not like thinking too much and like kind of conflicting with the jokes because you're trying to figure out what's happening.
Exactly. And I thought that was really interesting. And I appreciated hearing that, and I appreciate that it shows in the movie, because it felt like, oh yeah, there's a science to these movies. There is like something that you and I talk about when we talk about these spoof movies that means so much to us, right? When we talk about Naked Gun, is that there is this like cleverness that is required to make these movies and to do these well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like, I think of in the original Naked Gun when Drebin is talking to the main villain, and it's the famous scene when he like gets when he gets bit by the fish and he's like having a whole fucking crisis with the aquarium and dropping the pen in there trying to get it out. But they're having like an actual conversation that involves the plot while that's happening. It pulls kind of a Terminator on you, where it puts the exposition in the background.
Yeah.
You know?
And I mean, this is why we're doing a podcast together, man. I just love the fact that you mentioned Terminator while talking about Naked Gun.
Exactly. But in a comedic way, this one does it too. It does similar things where like exposition will be happening, but a really funny bit will be in the background, or vice versa.
So like if you don't want to pay attention, you can still laugh, but it's moving things along. And but it also does something that the first Naked Gun does, which is it introduces like the villain very early on. So there's not this like twist. So Frank might not know who the villain is, but the audience does. So again, we can kind of relax and not have to focus on these things and just laugh.
Yeah.
There is like, it's not just a million jokes. There is like a cleverness to the structure of these movies.
Yeah, I know. And, you know, it's cool to be really singing the praises of a movie with you. You know, a movie like this, at least.
I know.
Because I know we both got really giddy over Sinners. Don't get me wrong. I fucking love Sinners too. But I think, and maybe it's more personal to you and me just because of like, we weirdly built our careers on comedies, like old school spoof movies and comedies. So there is like, it's exciting to see one land successfully in our own generation and not feel like we're just looking back on something that was once before that was better. Because I think, you know, a lot of comments, which I don't get me wrong, you know, I loved when people say like, oh, this is back when comedies were special.
Right.
Or, you know, and some people took it wild directions like, well, nowadays everything's woke, whatever. Yeah. But it's like, now we're just getting a movie like this is exactly it.
And yeah, no, I agree with you. I think after filming a lot of those reactions, after filming the reaction to Top Secret, you know, Hot Shots and Hot Shots Part 2, you and I would have this conversation of just being like, why can't they still make movies like this? And you and I always kind of felt left out, where we were like, after Scary Movie, it just feels like our generation just didn't get that. You know what I mean? And
in terms of like literal spoof movies you're talking about?
Literal spoof movies. And now even a younger generation just doesn't get comedies in theaters, you know?
Yeah.
And like you and I at least got the Judd Apatow era, but like the generation, like the Gen Z doesn't even have that, you know?
I know. Gen Z didn't even get White Chicks, man.
It sucks. It sucks.
White Chicks is so fucking funny, dude. I want to cover that on the show at some point.
Oh, we 100% should. It's a great movie. But yeah, no, it is very like satisfying to see a type of movie that you and I like have a very special bond over, and seeing it in theaters and just being like, oh, this is the closest we'll get to seeing a Leslie Nielsen movie in theaters, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It really felt that. And honestly, I got kind of like emotional looking at Liam Neeson do this, because I thought a lot about Leslie Nielsen, not in a way of like Leslie Nielsen could have done this better. And I'm like, oh, like in a weird way, Liam Neeson is kind of paying homage to that kind of performance.
Oh yeah. Well, there's a lot of weight on his shoulders because, you know, there's no other Leslie Nielsen. You know, he had he had his like fucking stamp on comedy movies. And so for someone to come in and fill in those shoes, I'm like, it's such a good casting choice. Do you remember? I was reading into some of the history of the making of this movie, because I think they've been trying to get this movie made since like 2013, and it got passed around between different directors and producers.
100%.
And do you know who was originally supposed to be filling in that role?
So I remember at one point there was a conversation around Ed Helms doing it.
Yeah, that's the one I was going to talk about, which I'm like, I like Ed Helms, but he wouldn't be right for that role at all, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, Liam Neeson is the exact right choice. And I think like what's interesting is that like, you know, I feel like him showing up in Ted 2 was this like trial for this movie.
yeah.
Was when he showed up in Ted 2 and did that whole tricks bit. Mm-hmm. It was kind of like he can do this. Like Liam Neeson can kind of do this.
Yeah. And he's popped up in like little comedic, you know, like skits here and there. And he always had that deadpan humor. I know, I don't know too much of like, because I remember Seth MacFarlane, I think, was originally supposed to direct this.
He was, yeah.
And then ended up getting passed. He still produced it, right?
Yeah. No, he was he's still a big part of the movie. Like he's been in the promotional run doing interviews, and
that's right. Oh, and it said Fuzzy Door Productions or whatever, and that's the company that does Family Guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, he did produce it. I think this movie is just a proper example of like what really I mean, like, what the true joy of a movie theater? You know what I mean? I don't know. Like, when I watched Sinners, I felt the same way. Like, when I came out of Sinners, I was like, that's why you kind of make movies. And that's why you put them out in theaters for movies like Sinners, right? And I feel
Isn't that cool though?
100%, man. And
Like that two completely different movies like that, like Sinners and The Naked Gun. Like I really got to stress how different these movies are, and they're both such, they're both masterpieces in my opinion, but in just completely different ways. And seeing them both exist in the same year, and people excited to go to the theaters and excited having an actual group community theatrical experience. There's just something very special about that.
yeah. Yeah, I feel the same exact way walking out of Naked Gun. I'm like, oh, that's why we all go to the theaters for this moment. And, what I think the value of this is the 4-quadrant thing that every studio exec is chasing that Marvel at one point used to have, right? Like we're talking about Fantastic Four. There was a period where pre-Endgame, any Marvel movie would come out, everyone was like, well, we just got to go see it. And that's kind of over now. And that's okay. They had their run, right? And now it's for comic book fans who are diehard still that want to go, which there are a lot of. Those movies still make a lot of money. But I think a value of a comedy like this is someone like my dad who doesn't watch horror movies and he doesn't watch superhero movies. But he was telling me that he wants to go see The Naked Gun. And there are a lot of people that like, they don't have movies for them. Like they probably want to go to the theaters, but they're like, well, I don't like superhero movies and I don't like horror movies. And I don't want to see some A24 indie drama that's going to make me cry. So what am I going to go see in the theater? There's nothing for me. This is what comedies are for,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, that's what's so cool. Like you and I both had old ladies next to us. Like we don't normally see like elderly people in theaters because, like you said, there's probably not a lot of stuff for them. It's mostly superheroes and artsy horror movies, or dramedies or something like that. Once in a while they'll chuck in people talking in rooms drama, but like a straight comedy that like both people like you and me who are just kind of, a couple young bucks
Yeah.
and then, along with older folks, and we can all just fucking laugh our asses off. Like those old ladies were laughing hard next to me.
Oh, dude.
And like I can hear them be like, oh my God, just saying shit like that during some of the jokes. And it was fucking beautiful to see.
Very happy about it. I don't think I can talk about this movie any longer without starting to like mention the Shouties and like mention some of my favorite jokes.
Do you want to get the Shouties?
But Chris, what are Shouties?
So guys, so for listeners, Altaf and I realized like we say Shouties a lot, and there are always a handful of people that don't know what Shouties are when they jump into the show new. So we're like, oh well, let's say like a quick little phrase to kind of transition easily. And there's never an easy way to transition into it, so we always kind of playfully force it now. It seems.
Well, I wrote it in the Google Doc. There is like a line that you say.
No, I know, but there's no way to organically just say that in the middle. But. Here, don't worry. Let me pull up the Google Doc.
Yeah. Now that we're here, why not? You didn't have it pulled up. I wrote these notes. I sent it to you.
I read them, motherfucker. I didn't feel a need to stare at them. I like to have organic conversations.
Okay.
Don't worry, dude. Don't worry. We'll find this. We're keeping all this, by the way.
Oh, we're keeping it. This is raw.
This is a raw show. No, it's also because this is going to be a shorter episode.
Yeah,
so we want to get everything we can.
It will be a shorter episode.
All right, so I'm going to read what we wrote to transition to Shouties. Let's go over to Shouties, where we give our... Let's go over Shouties, where we give shoutouts to moments that matter to us.
Yay! Before, and this is obviously going to be a spoiler section for everyone who hasn't seen this movie. You can leave now. Last thing before you leave, I just want to shout out that this movie's 85 minutes and how glorious that is.
Yeah, that's true too. It's a solid length.
So, Chris, I'll start. My favorite line in this movie is when he is introduced to Pamela Anderson. And he's checking her out, and there's this noir music, right? Like this saxophone type music as it's like panning to her. And there's that voiceover narration of Frank Drebin while he's looking at her. It's like, she had an ass so great it makes a toilet beg for the brown.
Yeah, that's right.
I almost like choked on my Sprite when I was like watching that. I just fucking died.
Well, and then that became a recurring thing of how fucking weird his like, which is they do the same kind of thing in the original where it's like, she had a set of curves and legs you want to suck on.
Oh yeah, then he says he's like this new version. It has like, she had a body with everything in the right place: head, shoulder, knees and toes, knees and toes,
Knees and toes.
Okay, what's your shouty?
All the coffee bits of them constantly being handed
Yeah.
coffee and like getting handed bigger and bigger cups of coffee and then like always throwing them away or throwing them to the side. You just see fucking piles of coffee cups.
Yeah, everyone's consistently offering them coffee and they throw the one that they're drinking away.
And he'll be driving in the middle full speed and reach out the window. Thanks. Grabbing a coffee from a random hand.
I kind of wish I had like someone, like maybe I should have asked my roommate in the middle of my synopsis, give me a coffee, like a hand come in and give me coffee.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So my next shout out is a joke that made my audience gasp and then also laugh really hard both times I watched it, which is Pamela Anderson takes a drink that the villain offers her, and right as she sips it, he says, "From Bill Cosby's personal estate."
And then she spits it out. Jeez, I know that was a dark joke.
Yeah.
I already said it, but the thermal vision, dog threesome scene.
Well, what's amazing about that joke, and this happened both times I was in the theater, right when the dog comes out, the audience kind of gets the math of the joke, so the audience both time groaned when the dog came out because we all knew it was coming.
Even before that too, when he had like the turkey baster, like and it was like squirting it across.
Oh man. Okay. I wrote this and wait. I said Bill Cosby to say, what's your next shouting?
Oh, Weird Al's cameo.
Yeah, that's
when they're like, they'll have one entertainer for the rest, and he's like, "Hey, everyone!" Like the most obnoxious form of Weird Al.
Yeah, he's almost doing an impression of Weird Al. And it's obviously it's a classic thing to have Weird Al in a Naked Gun movie. You need to do that.
Yes.
And it's a homage that I forgot about. I'm like, oh yeah, he was in the original ones. But I love the idea of tech billionaires hiring out Weird Al. Like.
And then in the post-credits scene, how he comes out and he's like ready to perform. He's like, "Hey, everyone, where'd you all go?"
Okay, my next one is there's a scene with a bartender played by Cody Rhodes, who's a WWE wrestler. Bartender recognizes Frank Drebin, and this was on the quotes page on IMDb, so I kind of wrote this scene down. Bartender, you shot my brother in the name of justice. Frank Drebin, that could be thousands. You shot him in the back. Hundreds. He was unarmed. Maybe 50. Bartender, he was white. You're Tommy Royland's brother. Yeah. I think that's the hardest laugh everyone had. Like that was like the biggest joke.
I also loved in the opening, obviously like when he unmasked, we all saw it in the trailer when he, is a little schoolgirl outfit. But it's once he started fighting everyone when he like fucking takes a bite out of the pistol and like crumples up the gun into ash.
Yeah, kick someone and they roll like bowling pins. But then there's also that tiny moment where he chews out the gun and then kind of wipes his mouth like something was in, like it was food. The chief's husband always being asleep.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that too. Even like all the way to the point of like when she joins like in the stadium at the MMA fight,
yeah.
She's hauling him around. She's still sleeping. Yeah. Well, even like the confrontation too, when like she's kicking him off the force, how she's like, "I need to speak to Drebin immediately." And then he's like standing right there.
Well,
they're like whisper fighting to not wake him up.
It's an editing joke because it cuts to Frank Drebin being like, I wanted to tell you immediately. And you think it just cut to them in the office. And then it just there's like this wide shot where they're whispering.
And then it's like, he needs his rest because he has his exam tomorrow.
The Black Eyed Peas joke.
Oh, yeah. Will.i.am. Fergie. Never forget Fergie.
I would never. The Duchess.
And obviously the snowman scene, like you said, they got you emotional. That whole montage of like, their like loving weekend after a relaxing weekend, the narrator says.
I knew that because they had Pamela Anderson in it, there's going to be a love interest. I knew that there was going to be a montage, right? I was like, there has to be. Are they going to do the same thing where they have just different jokes? I'm glad that they didn't just do another montage, but instead they did this entirely like it's a different movie all of a sudden.
It just does its own isolated short film for a second.
It honestly felt a lot like Lonely Island to me. Like it felt like a Lonely Island digital short.
That 100%. I can totally see that being like that isolated montage being a digital short. Yeah.
So I mean, I just want to walk through it a little bit. The song choice is amazing. It's so perfect. The way that scene is lit is so like glowy and soft. It feels like comfort food almost.
Mm-hmm.
And then that hard cut to them performing incantations is so fucking funny. And then the snowman comes alive and you're like, okay, they're friends with the snowman. That's fun. But then they're having a threesome with the snowman.
Well, then they exclude him, and that's what leads to him building resentment and this whole thing of him staring at him, that he holds him at gunpoint, chases them.
The first time I watched it, when Pamela Anderson slices the snowman and it reveals her with the blade, my audience clapped. Like we straight up we're like, fuck yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Another shouty is during the credits when they like freeze frame and then they end up like breaking the whole fourth wall. It almost like feels like Too Many Cooks for a second. Like we're
oh yeah, where everyone's frozen but them, and they check everything, and then they do the Naked Gun thing, which is like in the credits there's a lot of jokes like Netflix password or eye exam.
Yeah, exactly.
My favorite one
that made me happy.
My favorite one, okay, so I wrote some that I liked in the credits. Netflix password, on-set dressing, so they had Italian, ranch, Caesar.
Ranch.
The eye exam, and then there was one credit that was fart department.
I don't think I caught that one. That's funny.
I watched it twice, so I remember all these jokes better.
Yeah.
Forensic glove joke fucking killed me.
Forensic glove joke. Which one was that?
Where he goes to the car accident that happened. He puts on the blue glove and then immediately like scratches his nose.
Oh yeah. In the beginning. Yeah.
And then he picks the matchbox with the different hand that's not even gloved. Like he just...
I didn't catch that far, funny enough.
Yeah, that's a joke I caught the second time. That was like
that's funny.
Which I will say, from my perspective, having seen this movie twice, it's the rewarding part about these kinds of movies. Like you do...
Yeah.
Like the cold cases joke is great, where there's a freezer and they're coming out with cold cases.
I know. And then... what was it? And then, of course, the like, did you get that? Or did we get that? And like that reveal of like the sting operation on the sting operation.
So that's the joke, and I'll explain it because I don't know if you remember. That's the joke where I pointed to the screen, Rick Dalton style. I was like, oh, that was for me. Because that scene starts with the villain being in the hospital, looking at the TV screen with news being like, Richard Kane is dead.
Yeah.
And I was like, and then the nurse says, it's been 3 days. And he's in a hospital looking at the news, and Frank Drebin comes out interrogating him. I'm like, oh my God, they're doing Fallout.
Yeah, they're doing Mission Impossible.
They're doing that. And like, I don't think anyone really, like, I've talked to some people who've seen that movie. No one caught that. And I was like, so that made me feel special because I was like, I remember. And right when the walls come down, they start playing the Mission Impossible music. Like... But then I was like, so at first I was like, okay, cute joke. They did the Mission Impossible thing. I love that because Mission Impossible Fallout is like probably my favorite action movie. And then he's like, isn't interrogating people like, isn't getting evidence like this illegal? And he's like, yeah, but I do this kind of thing all the time. He's like, did we get that? And the walls come down. And then
it was like Liza Koshy, right?
I know, fun seeing her. I was like kind of happy for her.
Yeah.
And then Frank Drebin asked Liza Koshy, he's like, how did you get all this material to build this? He's like, oh, I paid off some independent contractors, threatened them that they lose their jobs. And he's like, did we get that? And then it's like this union worker that comes out. Oh, God.
Yeah, good shit. Good shit, dude. And I'm sure we're forgetting more jokes. I'm trying to think of all... Oh, we already touched on it, the jazz song when she just scats violently.
Okay, so there's a double layer to that joke. One is Pamela Anderson scatting, but then while she's scatting, it cuts back to Frank Drebin doing this action sequence where he's like, fighting is a lot like jazz. And what I love about that is like that's clearly like a kind of joke on modern action movies post John Wick.
It's trying to do like a John Wick thing or something like that.
Where like post John Wick, a lot of action movies became like, we're going to play classical music while an action sequence happening. And listen, I fall for it. I love it too. But I love how they're just straight up calling that out while doing the dumbest like fucking jazz music ever.
Oh yeah. It's trying to do like almost like like Baby Driver, John Wick, where they kind of tapping into the rhythm musicality of action.
I have two more jokes that I want to. I tried to write down as many as I could remember. I wrote down the crane joke where they're like picking up the car with the crane.
yeah, the car out of the wreckage.
And when it falls, they're all like, oh, like.
Oh, and then Busta Rhymes' cameo.
I mean, this was in the trailer. Oh my God, Chris, thank you so much. Okay, so this was in the trailer, obviously. You spent 10 to 20 years for man's laughter. Must have been quite the joke. He's like, that's manslaughter.
Yeah.
That was in the trailer. The hot dog scene was...
all the chili dogs he ate.
So, obviously, like him having to go poop, firing off the gun, that was funny, right? To me, the funniest part about it is... Liam Neeson, after all of that, being like in the car, he's just like, I can't believe it. Breastfed till I was 13. How? As someone who has shit their pants in a very embarrassing way, I very much related to the self-hatred of that moment. But then what makes me laugh is that he immediately is going for another hot dog. And then everyone's like, Frank, no.
And yeah, you see Busta Rhymes like fully invested too. He's, oh, don't eat it.
And the funny, it's like transcendent, this performance by Liam Neeson. He cowers in the corner, puts his hands on his knees, is like, I had 5 more. Like
yeah, to me that's when the joke really kicks in. I agree. Like when I saw it in the trailers, I was like, oh, poop jokes, okay, cool, you know. But the full-fledged joke of like them watching him make these horrible decisions and all being like horrified by it is like what made it funny.
And him in the shadows being like, I had 5 more is just so fucking funny. And then how it constantly cuts back to the other side of the interrogation room and there's more cops watching.
Good shit, man.
Is there anything else that you wanted to mention before we end off this episode, man?
No, overall, like, you know, I think this is going to be a shorter review just because it's just jokes on jokes. There's not a lot of like themes to really chew on and get into. But, you know, I'm fucking stoked that this movie exists.
My top 3 movies of this year is The Naked Gun, Sinners, and 28 Years Later.
Hell yeah, that is fucking rad though, isn't it?
Yeah, who says movies are dead, man? They're back. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for our patrons for supporting us again and again. And if you want to see Chris guess the movie Drink, then head over to our Patreon at Movies That Changed Us. Last but not least, stay nice, dudes.